Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to share with you 4 different ways you can add glitter to your stenciling. Each one's a little bit different, and we're going to start out with heat embossing. So the first thing I wanted to do on this panel that I'm using today, which is just a white cardstock panel, is add some color to the background so my glitter would show up. Now you can add glitter to just a regular embossing powder if you wanted to. However, I'm adding the color behind a clear embossing powder that has glitter already in it. I'll do a video soon all about how you can mix up some glitter into your embossing powders and create your own embossing powder that way. But first, I'm going to go ahead and finish up this background. I just used a little bit of Party Dress and Tiki Torch Catherine Pooler inks and quickly blended out a background. Now, because Catherine Pooler ink stays wet a little bit longer, I do want to make sure that I give this a really good coat of my anti-static tool, and that is after I have heat set this as well. I just use my heat gun to dry that ink very quickly, but I still want to make sure that the embossing powder only sticks to where I am putting down my sticky ink. And for my card today, I will be using this stencil from the Crafters Workshop. This is actually a cake and cookie stencil. However, I use them in my craft room because I am not that big of a baker. Really, I'm not a baker at all. The only time I really bake is with like box mixes, which isn't great, but it's what I do. Anyway, I'm going to be using this in my craft room. Once it goes in your craft room, though, you don't want to take it back to the kitchen. So if you want to use these in the kitchen, make sure you use them only for your kitchen, and they are a food grade safe plastic. Now, through that stencil, I am going to place a little bit of Versamark. You can do this 2 ways. You can just smush your ink pad through the stencil. I feel like I don't get good coverage that way and get into all the little nooks and crannies, so I like to actually take a little sponge and dab my Versamark ink through the stencil. As I'm finishing this up, I do want to remind you that all the supplies I'm using today will be listed and linked down in the description box below. So if you want to do a little shopping, or if you have any questions about what I'm using, you can find links and everything I've used down there too. Now, for this background, I am going to sprinkle on some iridescent clear embossing powder from Imagine Crafts. This is a little different. It comes in a bag, however, it's easier to store that way for me, and it funnels easier back into the container, and it pours easily as well. I happen to like the bags better than the bottles these days. It's just what I like now. So I went ahead and sprinkled that onto my background. You can use a little paintbrush to dust away any extra little flakes that stick where they're not supposed to, but I used enough of my anti-static tool, I didn't have to do any of that. Then it's time to heat set. I am just using my heat gun and going over all of those places to heat set that embossing powder. And you can tell when this is heat set. It loses that white look, it melts down, and it is just so, so, so gorgeous. It traps all that glitter in there, and then you have this stunning background that has the color behind it, but then you've got those glittery fish scales, which is what I'm using today on top of it. Now to finish this card, I wanted to go bold with it, so I matted it onto a piece of black cardstock. Then I added Woohoo, which I die cut from a cat scrappiness die set, all those letters individually. I built those up 3 layers. My top layer, though, I went ahead and added a little bit of foil on top of that. And I just used a black foil from Deco Foil, and then I stamped on the inside of this card as well. Now let's move on to our next technique, which is the Tacky Wind Dry Gel Medium. This is from the Crafters Workshop. I have used this before, and I will leave this video as well as a few others that are going to correspond with things that I'm using in this video. I'll leave those linked down below in the description box as well. So if you want to see more ways that you can use this gel medium, you can head down there. Now I'm going to very, very quickly use this gel medium like you would any other paste, putting it through a stencil. I am just using a palette knife. The trick with this though is you want a nice thin layer and you want to make it as smooth as possible. You don't want any major ridges, bumps, anything like that. You want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So just take your time when putting this on, and then once you get it all covered in that stencil, give it a nice smoothed out. You could even use a larger scraping tool. That would be really helpful with this if you wanted to go that route. If you don't have a larger scraping tool or a palette knife set, you can also use an old gift card or an old credit card, and that will work really, really well too. I use that whenever I didn't have a palette knife set, but these are pretty cheap and you can buy them on Amazon for just a few dollars. So I am going to continue to smooth this out and put all that excess back into the container. You don't want that to sit on your stencil for any length of time because it will adhere to the stencil, and then you're not going to get rid of it very easily at all. You're going to have to scrape it off. So any extra, scoop back into the container, and then once you are done with this and once you have the medium the way you want it through the stencil and you peel your stencil off, make sure you either dip your stencil into some water so you can, before you can get to wash it, or take it immediately to the sink and wash it off. There's a closer look at that wave all ready to go. It's white when it goes on. You'll know when it's dry whenever it turns clear. Now, like I said, there are a lot of different ways you can use this medium, but today I am going to be applying glitter to it. This is a very sticky medium, so once it's dry and once it's set, just keep your fingers away from it, keep papers away from it, keep your shirt away from it if you don't want lint on it. It will pick up anything and everything, cat hair, dog hair, you name it, it's going to pick it up. So I like to get my glitter on there quickly, and I am using a Wow glitter. This is a fine glitter, so it's going to stick really well to this. You can use a chunkier glitter. Just know that you might have a few spots to where you'll have a little bit of a clear background. So I like to give this a good coating of the glitter. Make sure everything's covered, and then I'm going to go ahead and start pressing it into the Tacky Wind dry. It will adhere, but you do want to give it a little bit of pressure to make sure that everything is going to stick really well and not fall off as you're decorating your card. I like to lay a piece of computer paper over the top of it and then use my bone folder. You can use an old credit card, you can use whatever you have on hand to really give it a good press. You could even use your hands if you wanted to. Then I'll go ahead and lift this up. I'm going to dust off a little bit of the extra that is on there, but I still want to give this a good press. I just want to get that extra layer off. Then you're going to be able to tell what needs a little bit more glitter on it, what needs some extra pressure. And then I like to go ahead and lay my computer paper back over there and give it another good press. Now, once I have that done, I'm going to actually get my hands into this because this is all stuck on there, but the thing that is going to make this really stand out is to rub and burnish that glitter down into the gel medium. It's going to flatten out all those little glitter pieces. They're going to lay almost like a little puzzle piece in there and give this gorgeous, gorgeous sheen to the stenciled area, and I'll show you in the finished pictures. It's really quite different from any of the others. It almost looks like a foiled background, but it's with the glitter. I like to have an extra just dry brush on hand. This is actually one of my husband's from work, and I like to brush off extra glitter with that. I decorated this card very simply. I added a frame that I die cut from a cat scrappiness die. I added a few cloud dies to it and a simple thank you banner down at the bottom. I really wanted to let the background on this one shine, and you can see it's quite different. It almost gives that foiled look to the background because all the glitter lays nice and flat in that gel medium. Now we're going to go on to the hot foil gel. This stuff is awesome. It is one of my favorite products, and you are going to apply it just like you did the Tacky Wind dry gel medium. I like to just use a palette knife and spread it through a stencil. Now, I used this on my last video for the Crafters Workshop as well, doing a distressed foiling technique. I will leave that video down below too. I highly suggest you check it out for more ideas on how to use this gel medium and just to see all the different things you can do with it. You can put it through a stencil and it's great, but there are a lot of different things you can do with this as well. So I am just going to spread this through. Again, you want to make sure you have a nice even layer. No huge bumps or ridges or anything like that, because you want a nice flat surface for your glitter to adhere to as you run this through your laminator. You are going to need a laminator for this technique. They are very cheap. I bought mine from Amazon. I have the Royal Sovereign. I'll leave what I use linked down below. I might also leave a few other options that are pretty cheap on there that I know other crafters use too. You don't need an expensive machine. You can get one if you want to, but you don't need to. I'll go ahead and peel off that stencil, and then I need to let this medium dry. Again, it's going to go on white. You will know when it's dry when it is clear. Now for this, I'm going to be using these mink glitter sheets from Heidi Swapp. These are fun to play with. They don't go on foil, or they don't go on like your toner sheets like the foil does, but these are wonderful to use with the hot gel medium. So if you wanted to do the distress foiling technique but have a glitter edge like I did on my last set of cards, you could do that with these sheets. Now you want to be careful with them. They are just basically a glitter bomb in a bag. So be careful when you take them out, and don't touch them. Only touch the clear part around the glitter, because if you touch it, it's going to move. You can cut these. I'm going to cut mine to fit onto my paper here. And then I just like to tuck the extra back into that little bag. You want to keep them contained so you don't get glitter everywhere. I'm going to use this exactly like I would a piece of foil. I'll open up my carrier sheet, which is just a piece of computer paper folded in half. I'll put down my piece of cardstock with my hot foil gel on that, and then with my glitter facing the gel, I'm going to place that down right on top of the paper. Then I'll close my carrier sheet and run this through my laminator. Now I have let my laminator heat up. I've got it on the hottest setting, and I let it heat up a good 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to run this through my laminator first with the seam side going in. Then once that has gone all the way through, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees and run it through again. You don't have to rotate it. You can run it through again. I just like to give it a double dose of heat. This needs a lot of heat to get stuck into that gel and really stick, for that glitter to get kind of embedded. So run it through twice just to be safe, and then I can go ahead and pull this out. Now, this is where the fun part is. Look at that background. It almost looks like a velvet suede type of glitter background. It is so gorgeous. If you have any little extra pieces of glitter that hang on, just use like a sturdy bristle, like a chip brush, and you can brush those pieces away. I really didn't have any, but I wanted to show you what you do if you do have any of those. This is such a fun background. This is probably my favorite way. It doesn't come off at all, and it's just a great product if you know what you're getting when you buy it. I thought I was going to get something that would be great for toner sheets as well. It doesn't work on toner, only with the hot foil gel. So just keep that in mind. You can also use it on sentiments and things like that, which I've shown in videos previously. I just created a quick card with this, with the waffle flower stamp set, added a thinking of you banner and a few little thin frames to kind of highlight everything. I love the way this one turned out. Now, my last one is a video I have done on its own, which is the DIY glitter gel. Again, I will leave that link down below. I've got lots of different options down there for that, but I wanted to share it with you here because it is another great way to add glitter through your stencils. And another bonus, it doesn't move either. So like your hot foil gel with the background, if you want your glitter to be embedded and you only want your glitter, this is a great one to do, and I make it myself. You can buy a glitter gel from different companies. I believe ThermoWeb has some from Gina K, which are fabulous. But sometimes I want to customize my own colors, so this is a great way to do it. I like to use the Crafters Workshop clear gel medium in gloss. You need to use the gloss. Don't use the matte. It's got to be the gloss. Then I just pick my glitter, whatever you want. You can use a chunkier one like I'm using here. You can use a fine glitter. You can use it really chunky. Just make sure you have large enough openings in your stencil and just mix it up into your gel medium with your palette knife. You're going to want kind of a sandy texture once everything is said and done. Make sure you have enough glitter in there that it's going to cover everything once the clear medium dries, because you're not going to have any color or anything added. The only thing that is going to be seen is the glitter. I'm going to go ahead and shove this through my stencil, and again, you can do this as thick or as thin as you want. Just make sure you have enough on there that it's going to add some color, because you're only getting the color from your stencil. You also could just add a clear glitter to this. Then you'd have a clear glitter paste that you can put through like onto a colorful background and just add some shimmer wherever you want it through a stencil. That would be really fun too. I'm going to go ahead and smooth this out very quickly. You don't need a ton of this, so I mixed up a very small amount here, and I had just enough. If you have any left over, you can try and store it in an airtight container, like a little empty embossing jar if you have any on hand, or you can just put it through another stencil while it's still wet. It might not stay good. I haven't tried to save any of mine. I just run mine through different stencils until I'm out of it and just keep those on hand for quick cards later on. Now, once I have that through, again, I'm going to peel off my stencil. You want to wash it off right away. It will get stuck onto your stencil. But there you can see that background. It doesn't look like much, but once it dries, it is going to be so sparkly and glittery. I love using this DIY glitter gel, especially to mix up my own color combinations, things like that. It's a lot of fun. So this one I kept very simple as well, kept the focus on that background. I added a few hunter green frames to kind of highlight my little sentiment. I heat embossed a quick thank you sentiment onto a craft banner. I used a rose gold embossing powder. I thought that went well with that little coral that I have going on in the background, and I attached that to a green piece of cardstock that matches my frames at an angle for something a little bit more fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and 4 different ways you can add glitter through your stencils. I had a lot of fun making these, and now I have to go clean up a bunch of glitter from my craft room. That is going to do it for me today. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting!